What is going on, everybody? If you don't know, now you do know. You're officially tuned into a very special edition of the HFWB podcast series. This is your host, Clifton Pope, and with me today, I have a very special lady who is becoming quickly, actually, a very good friend of mine. And it's funny how we met. Just a quick backstory. A friend of mine who I know, who probably y'all don't know, her name is Adriana Armendez. I may have said her name wrong, and if you're listening, Adriana, I'm sorry for saying your last name wrong. But regardless, she connected me to this wonderful person in regards to an event that we did a couple of weeks ago. As a matter of fact, it was the Young Black Professional Roundtable for the Corpus Christi Black Chambers of Commerce. And as a matter of fact, since then, we have instantly bonded and we instantly clicked. And one thing I like about her is the fact that she studies the mind like tremendously. And I'm not making this up. I mean, she literally has a psychology degree at University of Kansas, if I'm not mistaken correctly, which led her to her overall journey of just studying the mind of couples, relationships, mental health, that kind of thing. If you haven't figured out who I'm talking about by now, please welcome Miss Melicia Wiley to the HFWB podcast series. Melicia, welcome aboard. I'm glad you're finally here. You know how long I've been trying to make this happen?
I know. I'm so glad to be here, too.
No, of course. Now, for everybody who's listening to the HFWB podcast series, Melicia, and who is wondering who you are, what is it that you do, and just your overall journey to where you are, give people a quick background story.
Yeah, so again, my name is Melicia Wiley. I actually have been in Corpus for almost 10 years. When I say that, people are like, what? What have you been doing? So I came down here initially in November of 2012, and I started my position at the Department of Veteran Affairs as the marriage and family therapist there. Grew in that role. I really loved it. Got some great training, right, from them. And then I realized I wanted to do a little more. I wanted to expand. I had some really ideas on expansion, especially helping minority communities and couples in the military, but also outside of the military. And so in 2020, in the midst of COVID, I started Youvolve Healing Center with my business partner, Dr. Kate Rodriguez, who is from Corpus. Yes, that is us, and we have grown so much since then. So I really love, like you said, studying the mind, but also like couples and why we do the things that we do. And one thing that we can't not do is be in relationship in some capacity. And so it really like warms my heart when people have great relationships. And so whether that's with yourself, with your boss, with your kids, with a romantic partner. So that's my little short version of.
Yeah, and it's funny how you say it warms your heart whenever you see people flourish in relationships. And honestly, Melicia, just to add to what you're saying, it really just comes down to just honest communication. Yeah. If the communication is right, then it's going to be a nice, warm relationship every single time. And it's just going to instantly click, and it's just going to come together much more beautifully. And for those who are listening to the HFWB podcast series, I'm going to throw this out there as far as what Melicia was saying, as far as with her working at the VA, because a lot of people don't know this, but Melicia at one point was actually friends, or still is here and there, with my own mother, who still to this day is a manager within the Department of VA. So that's how, I kid you not, everyone, whenever I was hanging out with my mom a couple of weekends ago, and she told me all of this, and I was just like, what? Oh my goodness. It's such a small world, but I just had to throw that out there for everybody who's listening to the podcast on how close and connected me and Melicia quickly have become just because of that alone. Yeah, but regardless, I know it's crazy. Yeah. But back to Youvolve. By the way, I love the name. I remember whenever I went there the first time and you gave me the private tour of the facility and stuff, I was just in awe of how much how much work and progress you and your partner Kate have put into building all of this together. I mean, what was the vision behind all this? What's the backstory? I know you kind of alluded it
Yeah,
started like in the midst of COVID and
it
stuff, but
did. So we started in the midst of COVID, and so our building where Youvolve is, it's in an historic building, right? And so it was the law office of Renee Rodriguez. Um,
mm,
and so Kate is his daughter. And when I first met Kate in 2016, I was just renting a little small office upstairs, seeing like one or two clients. Kate had her own private practice in the back. And as her and I started to like grow and connect and just really talk about our passion and vision, um, when COVID hit and her dad got sick and we knew that he was passing away, he was like, "What are y'all going to do with this building?" Right? Well, he actually said it to Kate, "What are you going to do with this building, et cetera, et cetera." And Kate called me and was like, "I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. We need to do this together." And I was at the Department of Veteran Affairs still, and I was like, "Yes, ma'am. Like, we got this. Like, we are a powerhouse when we're together, and we can do this." So, Youvolve Healing Center um, started then. Renee got to be a part of the beginning phases of Youvolve, which was like so awesome. So he was like, he had moved his office downstairs, and Kate and I had just had the upstairs. And after he passed away, Kate and I really spent some time going through the building, the memories, sorting through his files, but also putting our touch on it, which I know he really like. I'm like he's looking down, or he's with us, right? Being like, yeah,
right, right.
y'all
Always
better
watching over every step of the way.
watching over, being like, y'all better be badasses that y'all are, right? And so, that's how it started. So Kate and I, we definitely wanted a place where people who have felt like they've been judged in therapy or they couldn't go to certain places or just felt sterile, we wanted to create a place where individuals who individuals could come and really get a therapeutic experience and live the life that they need to live, right? And so we will also
Uh-huh.
know that we wanted a team of clinicians with us who are like-minded in the vision of being a part of the community, helping marginalized and minority, as well as, like the LGBTQIA community and other just groups where sometimes we don't fit into the traditional therapy, right? So,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And for the people listening, Malika, kind of break down each of those services that the Youvolve Healing Center kind of provides for the
Of
community here,
course, of
because
course. So, Dr. Kate Rodriguez, she focuses on forensic counseling, and so she does a lot in the court system, which is super awesome, right? So she can see anyone, like from parent parents going in to like murder cases, testifying. That's her jam. I try to
uh,
avoid court. I'll go and be her cheerleader. And so I primarily see couples or entrepreneurs, high performers, or high achievers who are also struggling with imposter syndrome or just anxiety or their relationships, right? We also
uh-huh.
have three other clinicians, one that can see kiddos and adolescents, one that sees teenagers, and she specializes in the LGBTQIA community, and then another one who works primarily with domestic violence or trauma, past trauma. So that's her jam. So we're really a one stop shop in essence of like just being a part of the community, seeing what our community needs and how we can um, how we can help.
And I want to throw this out there. I want to give a special shout out to your wonderful team. Special shout out to, like you said, your partner, Dr. Kate Rodriguez, wonderful person. Dr. Julia Linares, who specializes in the children behavioral issues.
Yep.
Andrea Chapa, who was actually at our roundtable for a little bit, showing love and support.
So
Such a
that's
sweetheart. She
such a sweetheart. Yes.
And last but not least, shout out to Miss Amanda Alamanderes, who specializes in teens and adults after trauma. And it's kind of like you just said, Malika. You and Kate literally created a one-stop shop, and you kind of put together a little bit of a dream team as far as helping people overcome their own issues with mental health. And I mean, mental health is pretty much, obviously, it's a very serious issue. It's been ongoing, and it's more ongoing more than ever since COVID happened and stuff, and we were on lockdown and everything. Do you have like a personal mental health journey story that you would like to share with everybody, Malika, that you feel like it's helped evolve you into the woman that you are today?
Yes. So my own mental health and what I've shared before is like I personally have struggled with major depressive disorder. It's recurrent, and so that is a passion of mine, especially I like to call it the depression monster and what it can say. And so really having the tools from my own therapist to my own just personal growth that I've been intentional about engaging in has really been beneficial, because those little voices,
Uh-huh.
like the depression voice that's like, why get out of bed? Why are you going to do this? People aren't going to like you. And it brings in anxiety, right? And it's like, are you really going to be successful, Malika? Why don't you just stop, right? And so I've really worked to, and will continue to work to, quiet those voices, because my vision and the goals and what I really want to do outweigh those. They're still there, but my
Yeah.
own personal journey um, has been one that I appreciate, from my personal journey to the educational background that I have as well. So I pull from both when helping clients and myself.
No, and that's great. Sometimes you have to pull from your own experiences to help create a better experience, not only just for yourself, but for that person you're trying to reach out to and kind of help out as well. But
Yeah.
overall, Malik, I want to ask you, it's like, what is it with your interest in helping that couple as far as just help get them back together like this? Did that come from like a previous, say for instance, like a bad relationship you were in before, or are you just like bringing people together, seeing them happy? Where does that spark come from?
I feel like the spark comes from honestly just being curious what goes on in people's mind, right? And
Mm,
so, um, so I actually look at like the individual, but also the couple. And so what I mean by that is, if I see two individuals together and they're happy, I'm like, great. I wonder like what is also bringing their happiness, because happiness is found within, right? Not from your
yeah.
relational dynamics. Now, your relational dynamics can increase your happiness, but our happiness is found within. And so I've always had this interest in that dynamic. As far as with couples, it's interesting and funny, because sometimes people will be like, "You're a marriage and family therapist. Like, are you pro marriage, or can I come to you if I'm not married, or what if I'm just dating?" And I'm like, I am trained as a marriage and family therapist, which means that I have the skills and tools to really maneuver and handle two people in a room. Like, that does not scare me. I'm like, the more the merrier, right? Families, bring them all in. Like, let's have a conversation. But my goal isn't necessarily to save your marriage or not to save your marriage. My goal is to tell you what I'm seeing relationally or dynamic, and you guys have the power, because I'm like, my clients are the experts of
Mm.
them, to see, once we start talking about some things, is this a relationship that still serves you? Are y'all willing to do some of the individual work to make the relationship healthier? And if the case is like yes, yes, then I'm like, cool. And if it's like one person is and one person's not, then I kind of put it back on them of, what do you want to do, right?
Mm.
And so
Okay.
I love couples. Um, so yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. So I see
Yeah.
couples that are married, that have been married. Sometimes I can handle, or I really like the high complex couples where they're like, we're on the verge of divorce. I'm like, yeah, let's talk it all through, right? I'll get my whiteboard out. Let's talk it all through.
Are you
And
ready
then,
to go?
right? And then I also love premarital. And so that is something that I feel can be so beneficial because then we get to talk about our expectations or what we want our marriage to look like. Talking about finances and kids and values and expectations and what do we do with the in-laws and how to create our own rituals and traditions. And so I like creating that space for couples to talk through that. So
Here's an interesting one to keep this topic going. If you had three key pieces of advice you would tell any couple who is listening to this HFWB podcast series who's in a position to where it's like, I don't feel like we're connecting as much. I don't feel like we had lost our touch. I feel like we're falling out of love with each other based on certain things. What would be your three key pieces of advice you would tell that couple listening right now?
okay, three key, putting me on the spot. I love it. Okay, so my first thought was um, explore that internally, right? So before we just go to our partner and say, hey, you're not meeting my needs, it's like, what actually are my needs and what is my partner doing? So if my need is I need us to be able to communicate, and then when I communicate to you or talk to you, you shut down, it's shutting down. That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, let's get a little clear on what is it that I'm needing. The second thing would be, I sometimes say, let's pull the Band-Aid off and be like, hey, let's do a check-in. Are you still invested in this relationship? How are you doing with it? I'm feeling this way. Are you also feeling this way? Because if both individuals are like, yes, yes, then you automatically put your hands together of like, what do we want to do? Which can be, let's have a couple of sessions of therapy, or let's read a book together, or let's take an assessment and start to talk about it. So those are, I know I went over three, but those would be my three. For those that are listening, depending on when they listen, September 28th, I have my workshop, Be Your Best Lover. LOVER, and so
I was just about to ask you. Hey, I mean, last I checked, for those who are listening to the HFWB podcast series, Melicia Wiley, she's literally going to be putting together a workshop about helping people become a better lover. And who doesn't want to become a better lover? Because there's always room for improvement in everything. We don't have it all figured out. And to be honest, I don't even have it all figured out at times within the relationship that I'm in currently. Because there's times where me and my significant other are clashing like this, but we eventually talk it out and we work it out. So I feel like this will be a great workshop to help everybody just evolve or Youvolve into a better lover. And you said it's September the 28th,
September the 28th. It's here at Youvolve Healing Center, and you can also join online. And this is where I say too. So I think my second piece of advice was like for the couple to check in. They put their hands together. I'm like, in my own personal relationship too, we do check-ins. We do check-ins. Like, how are you doing? Like, how are you really doing? Is there anything that's coming up this week that I should know about? Because you might be a little busier and I can provide that support, right? And one thing that I've noticed is couples just don't check in as often. They assume a lot. And they don't engage in like the fun things that can really connect them. Like going to a workshop, going bowling, having the date night, finding a babysitter, or putting the kids to bed early and just being silly in the living room and playing a game, right? And so it's literally these small things sometimes. But the workshop, if you guys can hear my energy now, I'm not one of those boring presenters that just read from the PowerPoint. I'm like, we are going to have some activities. I have something exciting like to do, talk about communication, but I like to move and go and really get people to like understand themselves, because if we don't understand ourselves, how are we going to understand anyone else, or at least attempt to try to, right? So
It's like they say, Malika, seek to understand and to be understood. That's pretty much what it all boils down to. And for everybody who's listening to the podcast right now before this workshop, you need to go check out this workshop. And for everyone who's listening to it afterwards, ask yourself this question. Are you becoming a better lover? If so, hey, you're doing a great job. If not, Melicia Wiley, find her at the Youvolve Healing Center, and she'll get you on the right track, definitely. Now, Melicia, I'm going to put you on the spot again with basically a list of questions that I basically ask everybody who comes on the podcast. And just for you, I'm going to cater a couple of questions just for you based on your specialty, of course.
Okay.
First question is simple. What is the first thing you do or think of every single day you wake up every day?
The first thing I think of right now, I would say gratitude.
Very, very popular. Very popular. You got to be grateful for everything because it just brings more life into everything. I agree with that.
And that's something new that I started. I wasn't always like that, but now it would be gratitude.
No, there's nothing wrong with changing things up. I mean, hey, you got to change for the better every single day. I agree. My next question, Melicia, is simple. What is health and wealth in your own eyes?
Health and wealth in my own eyes. I would say it's what to call it. It's the same coin, right? Like the heads and tails, like they go together. And so if I'm healthy, mentally, physically, like the food that I put in my body are working out, I feel like the wealth, it might not be so much monetary, but it could be the wealth of just still living and like the wealth of like seeing my kids grow up and honestly, I feel like when you're healthy and doing something that you love, like the wealth and the money will come. So
I like that. That's a very different, unique answer and a first of its kind. Health and wealth are two sides of a coin. They go together. Right? I love that. Together. And I might have to steal that from you, Melicia, because that is such.
You can use it. You can use it.
That's you just inspired me with that answer within itself. My next question, based on what your specialty is, Melicia, what defines a strong relationship in your personal opinion?
What defines a strong relationship? I would say individuals who are willing to communicate, even when it's uncomfortable or it seems difficult, because you know that it needs to be said and you can say it in a way that's still connecting, right?
Yeah.
I would say individuals that are willing to experience and sit in vulnerability, which we like to run from because it's uncomfortable, right? But when we can sit in it, it brings so much joy. But it also can bring pain because it's uncomfortable. And empathy. I would say having empathy for someone, being able to put yourself in their shoes, but like that's the saying that we go, but I go a little deeper of just being able to see another human struggling with something and you get that and you can just be present with them without trying to solve it for them unless they ask. Having that empathy. So communication, vulnerability, and empathy.
All great answers, and I feel like we should follow those more and more. If you had to pair like a famous couple and have people model how their relationship is, who would you choose? Like who's your favorite celebrity couple is really what I'm asking. If you don't.
What's funny is I don't know. I don't really have one. So what my first thought was, whoever's listening, I would have them pick up a mirror, and that's who their favorite couple should be, themselves. Right?
I like that.
And so
I like that.
Now I do feel like you can get inspiration for other couples from what we see externally, right? So let's just say Beyonce and Jay-Z. Maybe for them, I had to go ahead.
I was just thinking about.
It's like maybe I like the fact that they appear to do business well together. So I want my partner and I to be business moguls together. And then Rihanna and ASAP, maybe it's like I like the way that they appear to parent well and support each other. I want to do that, right? But
Oh
and maybe
man,
many other
I
people.
feel I feel like we could learn from Jay-Z and Beyonce alone because the whole scandal that they went through with Jay-Z cheating on Beyonce, Leave Me Alone, Becky, all that good stuff. That's a great example to follow. And I myself at times look at their relationship and I'm like, it won't be close to that, but I can learn bits and pieces. I mean, hey, you
Definitely
can learn
learn
from
bits and
everybody.
pieces. I tell, and the reason I said pick up the mirror and it should be ourselves is because sometimes we can slide into comparison and then we start to
Hmm.
idolize these individuals. And then when our partners don't do what we think that they should do, we get upset instead of communicate, right? And
Right.
so, yeah, I definitely, that's why I said what they appear to be, because we don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
Of
But
course,
what they
definitely.
show us, we can take it, learn from it, and see how we want to apply it to our lives.
Malika, when you're not doing everything that you're doing on a regular basis, because I know you're super busy, what are some of your go-to hobbies that you would like
My
to share with the
go-to
people?
hobbies, DIY. I love to DIY. In my head, I have a show on the Home Network. Actually, I have like my own YouTube
I was
channel. I
thinking
do,
like, what? DIY? I was like,
yeah,
what?
do it yourself. Like, I love power tools. I love like putting things together, repainting a room, these transformation things that I can like see and do, like in a weekend. I don't really have a YouTube channel, but my friends, I love y'all dearly. If y'all are listening, like I will send them little clips of me. Like I replaced this weekend the fan in my daughter's room, like the ceiling fan,
Mm.
and I made just little different Snapchats, and I did like one like breaking news, and my friends are like, "You need a YouTube channel." I'm like, first of all, no, but that's why honestly my go-to hobby is I love to DIY and kickboxing. Kickboxing.
Okay.
I
All
love it.
right. All right. That's there's nothing wrong
Okay.
with that. I mean, if anyone from the Home Network is listening, you need to get in contact with Malika Wiley because she may have a couple ideas on how to do it yourself. You know, I mean, hey, nothing wrong with switching things around for sure.
Right.
Last question, Malika, before I
Okay.
wrap everything up. It's a simple one. If you had an opportunity to go back in time and talk to yourself 10 years ago, right, what would you tell yourself? And at the same time, where do you see yourself? Where do you see Youvolve heading in the next 10 years?
Okay. So what would I tell myself 10 years ago? So that means I would be 26. I would say, Malika, girl, you got this. Everything that you are dreaming of and that you are writing about, like, you got this. Keep your tribe strong. Continue to not doubt yourself. And when you do doubt yourself, seek mentorship or therapy or some type of counsel, and allow others to pour into you, girl, because you do not have to do it all by yourself. So that's what I would
Right.
tell younger Malika. And where I see you evolve in 10 years, um,
It's a long
I
time.
see us recognized, honestly, on a global level. I really
Mm.
want Youvolve Healing Center. I see multiple locations. I see, which to me, multiple locations means multiple clinicians, which means we can really come into the communities and be a part of the community and also like just really help. One thing on our Instagram, like we say, we're real humans helping real humans, and I don't want us to be like, um, we're above because we're therapists. Like, no, we're real. Like, I feel like that's why people like us because we are authentic and we have gone through it, but we also have this wealth of knowledge and experience and training, and we don't use that to like one up you. We use that to like help you, and I really want
Uh,
that to be across Texas, across state lines, and so um, that's what I I don't know, that gets me excited thinking of like.
No, you have a vision, Malika, and you're definitely going to carry out that vision. I already see it, and I knew that from the moment when I first went to the facility and I saw all this. I'm like thinking, damn, they're eventually going to like take over the city, and this is like the right time. It's like you're literally peaking at the right moment, Malika, and I just want to say bravo, congratulations, and I can always wish you the most amount of success every single time. As a matter of fact, Malika, you need to tell the people where they can get in contact with you, and at the same time, let them know where they can find Youvolve. Because for those who are watching it right now on YouTube, I'm holding up a little sign right here, and this could give you all the information you need to know. But I'm going to let Malika explain it way better than I can.
Yeah, so Youvolve, like YOUVOLVE. So YouvolveHealingCenter.com. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We do wear several hats, so we could be a little more active. But I'm going to give ourselves grace because we're still doing the damn thing, right? And so
Yes.
you can find us on social media. We do have monthly workshops. The last Wednesday of every month, we have a different topic. And honestly, if there's an event or something going on, send it to us on Facebook. Like, we really pride ourselves of being therapists outside of the couch, too. Like, we don't want to just stay in our offices. We want to be in the community. We want to be volunteering. We want to show up and have a... just really be involved with what the community is doing. That's our vision, but that's also like all of our internal passions as well. So like and follow us on Instagram or Facebook.
Yes, and let us continue to evolve, or should I say Youvolve, because we all go through our own personal struggles. We all go through our own personal experiences. Don't be afraid to share it with somebody because, yes, we live in a judgmental society where people are quick to judge, but who cares? Because overall, it's about, like you alluded to, Malika, being authentic, keeping it real with yourself, and then keeping it real with someone you're trying to reach out to help you solve your problem. That way they can solve it and you could continue to evolve. That's pretty much what it all boils down to.
Right.
And that's what I want to leave everybody with today on this episode of the HFWB podcast series. Malika, thank you so much for making time out of your busy day just to make this happen. I truly appreciate it. And y'all go check her out at Youvolve and go check out all her wonderful staff. Like, they're the most down-to-earth people I've met, and I guarantee you they're going to get you on the right track. Best believe that. Because they model what health, fitness, wealth, business is about, which is healing yourself from within. Once you do it from within, the external stuff, that's all going to come naturally. Believe that. So Malika, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I truly appreciate it. It's all love.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you for everybody who listened to this episode of the HFWB podcast series. This is your host, Clifton Pope, and I encourage y'all to stay healthy, wealthy, and blessed. Till next time, everybody, peace and love.